Merry Christmas, fellow horror fans.
It's Freaks Movie Reviews here, a new channel to bring everyone who just loves horror together. It is that time of the year again. People come together to eat food and drink and give each other presents and drink and celebrate the birth of a man who died for our sins and drink some more. Yes, there's certainly no shortage of holidays this month. There's Christmas, New Year's Eve, Sinterklaas, Eat Red Apple Day, St. Stephen's Day, Make Up Your Mind Day, St. Stephen's Day 2, The Revenge, Pretend to be a Goat Day. Okay, so the last two I made up. Sorry. Anyway, what better way to celebrate these holidays than watching people die in horrible ways? Because every cutesy fuzzy wuzzy feel good concept has to have an horror equivalent. People are sick. And thus Christmas spawned a lot of goofy horror monsters, from killer Santas and killer snowmen to killer elves, killer toys, and well, just killers. Today we're gonna look at some movies based on one that's been getting more and more recognition over the past few years, Krampus. Now for those of you who've never heard of him, or just don't care, when you're a good kid, Santa brings you presents. We all know that, of course. Well, most of us. But some people living in this shitty part of Europe make their children believe that when you're bad or naughty, Santa will get his servant Krampus for you, a horned demon from hell.
He will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you.
Merry Christmas. I have a couple of Krampus movies for you today, and spoiler alert, they're all fucking horrible. Some don't even deserve a movie review, as they don't even qualify as movies. But I'm going to do so anyway, because no one should ever be subjected to the horrors I saw. I really hate these movies, and I know you will too. And a wise puppet once told me that hate leads to suffering. I think it was Cookie Monster. I'm here today to warn you, to warn the people, and to keep the human misery caused by watching these flicks to a minimum. Consider it my Christmas gift to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our first Krampus film is titled Krampus the Christmas Devil. And let me just say, this movie is worse than the Holocaust. And if you think that's offensive, you didn't have to sit through it like I did. You have no idea. It very well may be the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've seen movie 43. Now I'm not gonna go over the plot in great detail because honestly I still don't really know what it's about. But let me just show or dissect some of the first scenes to give you an idea of how bad this movie really is. At first, the film tricks you by showing some Christmas related stock footage, making you go like, oh, that's pretty bad, but it's not god awful. And then the real movie begins. Yep, it kinda looks like garbage, doesn't it? Wonderful, just wonderful. The first time they brought the classic tale of Krampus to the silver screen is on the budget of a shoestring and a half-eaten donut. So this Santa suit wearing guy must be Krampus, I guess. Fair enough. In an effort to make the scene disturbing, A Christmas Carol is played at about half speed, and some cheap negative and shudder effects are used. Of course, this doesn't make it disturbing, but insufferable to watch. Yeah, that about sums the movie up. Insufferable. Only 1 fucking minute in, and I want to pierce my eardrums and throw acid in my eyes. Or shut the movie off. Either way is good. I quickly noticed that not only is the editing some of the worst I've ever seen, it also makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, we see Krampus dragging a bag in a frozen pond, then see a kid running away from the pond, okay, then cut to the kid running some more. Okay, now to a Christmas tree, back to the kid running again, running upstairs. Oh, now we're in Krampus's lair. And now back to the kid again. And now a bald guy waking up. I really have no idea what is going on. And I'm very thankful that I don't care. So the bald guy goes off to work. He closes the door and the credits begin. At this point, I realized this might be the worst movie ever made. Just the sheer choice of having the credits start after the most uninteresting and mundane scene so far is completely baffling to me. Imagine if other movies did that.
I've seen your photographs from Corto Maltese, haven't I?
Right.
Yeah, you've got a wonderful eye.
Yeah, some people think she has two.
Needless to say, the credits are obnoxious as well. Aside from the unbearable, deafening metal soundtrack, The credits are so cheap. Why are they presented by a CGI book template only to have them fly right at you every time? Then why use the book in the first place? And look, just take a fucking look at the title. They didn't even erase the background properly. Why would you entrust someone who can't even handle simple Photoshop to make a goddamn movie? But the worst is yet to come, people. The worst is yet to come. After the credits, the movie decides to be boring as well. Just watch in excitement how the bald guy arrives at the police station, parks his car, gets out of the car, walks to the station, goes through a door, then goes to another door, walks to his desk, takes a map, walks away again, then knocks on yet another door, which becomes a different door on the other side. I just can't believe this. I haven't seen this many doors since Monsters Inc. When you show a guy arriving at a police station and then cut to him inside the police station, we know how he got there. Maybe yours can't, but our brains can make that connection. Then there's a scene of dialogue between the bald guy and the police chief that makes no sense whatsoever. It opens with the chief saying there's yet another child gone missing in the same area, then Baldy here responds by saying,
"It's where all the kids are coming up missing. It makes sense."
Like, it makes sense in the way that it's in the same area as before? Heck, if I know what he means. Then Baldy suggests that this could be the work of a serial killer.
What are you saying? You're saying serial killer?
Or something like that.
As if they didn't come to that conclusion sooner. Then, right away, he debunks his own theory by claiming it's happening everywhere and worldwide.
It's been all over the world. There's something bigger here than we could ever imagine going on.
Even though the map clearly shows a small specific area.
Freaking idiot.
So it couldn't possibly be a serial killer, but he did say,
Or something like that.
so is he alluding to Krampus? Shouldn't the conversation then go like, what do you mean, serial killer? Or something like that. What do you mean? Well, chief, it could be a serial killer. Or, and this is just a hunch, it could be this evil demon from hell who works for Santa Claus, using his evil demonic powers to kidnap all the children who have been naughty. Then the chief goes completely off the rails, talking about a bald guy's dead father who used to work with him, and then he also tells him some criminal was set free and may seek revenge or some shit like that. I honestly believe this dialogue wasn't even written. It's as if the whole thing was improvised. There's no structure, no purpose, just random shit. This kind of amateurism is so hard to watch that it overshadows all other movie mistakes. Like, I should be angry that the crew's clearly visible here in the reflection of the door, but the film fails in the most basics of movie making, that the way every single shot is set up makes me cringe more than watching BuzzFeed videos.
How does it feel to be the
You just
same
feel like
sex
you
as
need
Donald
to hate.
Trump?
Everybody
That's
likes
how
to
you
do
hook up.
This is a colored.
And I could point out the obvious bad acting, but that's like complaining that the food you're given in Auschwitz is a little dry. That's my second Holocaust reference in this video, people. You see what this movie's done to me? I have become a worse human being by watching it. So yeah, the rest of the movie's like this. It's a real pain to sit through.
I want this motherfucker, you understand me? You get him! You get him! You get him!
In a confusing scene with embarrassingly cheap and nonsensical excuse for a nude scene, we find out Krampus is working for Santa.
Fuck, brother.
Who's controlling him like, dare I say, slave master. The bald guy and two other dudes are suddenly dressed like army guys, even though they are just police detectives. Look, he signals them to stop and then fall in. It always looks cool when they do that in movies, right? Oh wait, you're standing in an open field, so it doesn't make any sense. God, this movie is trying so hard to be cool and badass that it's pathetic and embarrassing. So Krampus catches the guys who are trying to find his lair and drags them to his lair. Genius. But the other two dudes we barely knew are killed off. Oh, I'm really gonna miss the one with the beard. The bald guy escapes, so what does he do now? Does he call for backup or recruit more soldiers to storm the hideout in an exhilarating action-filled climax? No, of course not. Being the badass policeman that he is, he immediately goes to a bar to get hammered. Okay, but after that he gets in the worst bar fight scene ever put on film. Okay, so the chief helps him out and the fight is over. Now are they going to storm Krampus's hideout to save the missing children? No. The crazy criminal the chief was talking about earlier invades the bald guy's house and takes his wife and slightly younger daughter hostage.
Mother humping husband took from
Are you fucking kidding me? Why is this movie even called Krampus? It doesn't have anything to do with him anymore. It's like they suddenly realized that the Krampus story was utterly ridiculous, so they moved to another story that's utterly ridiculous. Can you imagine Lord of the Rings going like, the ring had to be destroyed so the Fellowship set foot to Mordor, and then Aragorn shaved his beard and started working for the Russian mafia.
Where's your husband? Where's your husband?
What's this guy even doing?
Where is your husband?
Hey asshole, if you're looking for the cop who took you in, maybe check the police station? Maybe? And if he's not there, how the hell would his wife know where he's hanging out? Even when the credits
Finally.
start rolling, the torture keeps going as the director decided to torment us with bloopers and behind the scenes footage, as if they knew no one on their right mind would ever buy the DVD, let alone bother to watch the extras. How does a movie like this even get made? I really can't believe there's a film out there that's even more incompetent than Len Kabaczynski movies. At first I was hoping this would be one of those so bad it's good movies, which I kinda like to watch once in a while, but it falls more in the category of so bad it's fascinating and then after 10 minutes you want to kill yourself repeatedly. I'm dead serious. This makes films like The Room, Troll 2 or Birdemic look like cinematic masterpieces. It's not just bad, it comes off as a first year student film or a very shitty YouTube video. It doesn't only fail as a story about Krampus, it fails being a movie altogether. And if someone asked me to give this movie a score out of 10, I would kill him for even bringing it up. Fuck this movie. But hey, are you ready for the really crazy part? This film, this abomination, has a sequel, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, a sequel. Krampus the Christmas Devil returns. It's even made by the same director, and I use that term very loosely, Jason Hull. More like Jason dumb-ass fucking incompetent amateur idiot asshole. I could go on and on again, talking about how this film is the worst thing ever made by our species. And yes, I'm including Clippy, so don't ask. But I don't want to keep repeating myself, unlike some scenes in the movie I can mention.
Josh, what are you doing?
Josh, what are you doing?
Josh, what are you doing? What are we doing? We shouldn't be here.
Just look at this. Look at this. It actually looks like a home video of a mall Santa. I don't even know how to joke about it anymore. It's just so embarrassing. Let me just show you the very first scene as it appears in the movie.
Jesus, Andy. Calm down. Have a beer.
Yep, it's just as awkward and bad as the first movie.
Cheers.
But there is a major difference though. In the original, the people involved clearly didn't know what they were doing. In this film, the people involved didn't care what they were doing. I mean, some scenes are so head-scratchingly questionable that the only explanation is they just didn't care.
Jesus, I need new men!
Why is there a dog just sitting in the middle of the police station? They didn't care. Why is Santa living in a shed and not on the North Pole? They didn't care. And why is he acting like a deranged lunatic? He's much more evil than Krampus in these movies, now that I think about it. These movies should be called Santa's Being a Dick, and Santa's Being a Dick 2. Even more vomit-inducing garbage. The story is so devoid of any logical sense. Again, it focuses on cops looking for missing children, because yeah, approaching the horror story about Krampus like a detective action thriller isn't utterly ridiculous. And again, like the first movie, it goes completely off the rails by dragging a random criminal gang in. Look at this. This is absolutely bewildering. It's appalling. What am I even watching?
Fruition. We'll be sure to pass on. That's all I got to say right now.
What's this? What is this? Why is this guy even in the movie? Did Jason Hull just watch an episode of Twin Peaks that day? I have to be fair though, this one news reporter guy is hilarious.
I'm on the scene at the Edinburgh police station where citizens gathered earlier today to address their concerns about...
What is he even doing? Is he on drugs? I would be too if I was in this movie. Look at that, it's so obvious he doesn't give a shit. I want this guy to read every news report from now on. Couldn't we make that happen? Let's make that happen. Let's just set up a Kickstarter for this guy. Oh great, another bar scene.
Could totally relate to my farting turtles. And
wait, what did she say?
Farting turtles.
Okay, let's move on. Farting turtles is where I draw the line.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
Our next piece of cinema is Krampus Reckoning. Production value looks a little higher at least. Hell, after the first two films, any film would look like fucking Lawrence of Arabia. Let me just go over the story in great detail. There's a creepy little girl who can summon Krampus at will to kill people she doesn't like, and that's about it. No, really, that's it. The film is so boring. I can't believe I'm saying this, but at least the first two movies, insufferable as they were at least a little fascinating in how baffling and horrible they were. This movie is just rubbish, and most of all, boring.
Theodore Holzer, former Guardians Dolores and Henry Kelly. The number I have for them is no good, but the address is 860 North Range Road. It looks like it's in a town called Riley.
I found myself playing Russian roulette in order to stay awake.
You chuck. Beat it!
At one point I was even hoping I got the bullet to end my suffering. And it has an even worse looking Krampus. That's right, it's worse looking than this and this. Just look at how scary looking he is in all his convincing CGI glory. Not since the movie Spiders have I been so impressed by visual effects in a movie. The director has no idea of story structure or pacing. The film kind of builds up a twist ending, which, if you've been able to stay awake, has been practically being given away in the very first scenes. The whole thing looks cheap, the killing scenes and sex scenes are so fucking awkward, I feel ashamed for everyone having to do with it. I won't even dwell on this one any longer, I even feel bad for acknowledging it exists. Just stay as far away from it as possible. Just get a frontal lobotomy instead. The effects will be the same, but at least it won't be as boring.
He's coming back. I don't believe it.
I don't believe it.
Wouldn't you know it, this monstrosity also managed to produce a sequel that also came out this year. Jeez, they wouldn't be banking on the success of a big budget Krampus movie that came out last year, would they? I gave it the benefit of the doubt, because at least the Krampus monster looks a little better here, but after being almost bored to death by the previous one, I decided to keep watching until the point I was struggling to get my eyes open. And wouldn't you know it, I couldn't make it past the first 15 minutes. When this guy starts telling endlessly dull stories about the decorations on the wall, because they have to fill an hour-and-a-half movie somehow, I had to shut it off. Last movie of today is simply titled Krampus. This version is probably the most well known. This movie has a lot going for it, in that it actually looks and sounds like a movie. I had almost forgotten what the real movie is, like I landed in a parallel universe where every movie in existence was replaced by a sweeted version.
It's not about control. Stand down.
Wouldn't that be a good ending to a Twilight episode? Needless to say, this one beats all the others in production value and design. It actually looks pretty neat for Christmas horror movie standards. But is it really good? Well, I'm sad to say it left me hugely disappointed, mainly because the plot is so unimpressive. I'm telling you, for a story about a demon hellspawn killing off an entire family, it's very bland and safely written. It starts off with probably the scariest part of the entire film, Black Friday. So you think it's going to be a satirical comedy or something, but no, this has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. The plot is very simplistic. Basically, there's this kid who loses his Christmas spirit because of his horrible family, which causes Krampus to appear and shut them off and kill them one by one. At least I think it's Krampus. Could also be the rhino from James and the Giant Peach. But hey, give them some credit for actually sticking to the original Krampus folklore, instead of just using it as a lazy excuse for a cheap slasher film. Oh wait, no, that's exactly what they're doing. This is every slasher movie ever made, just with Krampus instead of some other movie monster. Oh wait, no, that's not true. In fact, Krampus is barely in it. His servants do all the work. Evil toys and the gingerbread man from Shrek and these weird creatures here. Really, Krampus is in only like 3 scenes.
That is bullshit.
The majority of the movie is every run-of-the-mill slasher film that stays very loyal to the formula. There's no surprises, everything's on autopilot, and all killing scenes are done off-screen, so there's no gore, so it's not even a good slasher film at that. There's also like a million things that don't make sense at all. Like there's this granny who only speaks German, which somehow only the father and this kid can understand, but she understands English herself. This movie handles the same linguistic logic as Star Wars.
Well, you said it, Chewie.
At some point, there's this animated sequence that's kind of refreshing, where the German granny reveals that the same thing happened to her when she was a kid. Wait, she never bothered to tell this to anyone?
He left me as a reminder of what happens when hope is lost.
It's all suddenly in English, by the way. What a fucking load.
Please, listen.
English. I knew it.
No, that doesn't disguise the fact that it doesn't make sense. Also, how is the whole Krampus ordeal supposed to work exactly? How is killing off an entire family supposed to teach this kid a lesson about the holiday spirit? He was the only one who took Christmas so serious to begin with. And wait, just hold on a second, bear with me now. If Krampus is real in this movie, then shouldn't Santa be real as well? Isn't that the whole idea? So why are the parents still buying presents then? Shouldn't Santa bring them presents every year? Isn't that like a huge hole in the movie's logic? And don't even get me started on the ending. The pacing is really awful. We spent the whole movie seeing this family try to survive, as they would in any slasher film, but then in a matter of minutes, they're all killed off. It's like the editor said, holy shit, we're at 80 minutes already? Just let them all sink in the snow, quickly. We still need time for our pretentious open-ending scene. What drew me to it was the Rotten Tomatoes summary. It literally says,
Krampus is gory good fun for fans of non-traditional holiday horror.
That's a lie. That's a fucking lie. The film is as traditional as a slasher film can get. It's not gory, not in the slightest. Every single horror moment is off screen. There's not a drop of blood in the entire movie. Damn you PG-13 and your vampirish ways to suck the blood out of a movie. The movie's biggest problem is that it lacks tone and focus, as it doesn't really know what it wants to be. It's not funny enough to be a comedy, it's not clever enough to be a satire, and not explicit enough to be a slasher. It just keeps drifting somewhere in between, in a grey sea of total blandness, and ends up being boring. Not Russian roulette boring, but still pretty boring. So that was our Christmas special. Krampus. More like cramps in my ass. So which one of these movies is worth watching? Well, would you rather be unimpressed to death, bored to death, or tortured to death? No, but seriously, I wouldn't recommend any of these movies. Not even the last big budget one. I guess it's the one I disliked the least, but that's hardly anything to get excited over. This was just pain. Miserable, miserable pain.
Calm down. Have a beer.